The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host or the management. This podcast should not be considered professional advice, and listeners should consult appropriate professionals for advice tailored to their specific needs.
So, welcome to another episode of the UTI podcast. Thank you to everyone that has subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed yet, there's a button down there. And don't forget to click the like button as well. I'm Renee, and
Hi, I'm Lisa Marie. And before we say who this is, I just want to say this is one of my mentors. When people ask me what put me into 200 all the way running 6 days, it's his fault. One of them, one of two.
all right. With that said, let's hear you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Ed Ettinghausen, but people know me on the course as the Jester for obvious reasons.
Awesome. So let's get started on these numbers. So is this a fixed distance race or is it a timed race?
This is a fixed distance.
Oh, right. And your finishing time was?
37 hours, 37 minutes, and 37 seconds.
Oh, wow. 37, 37, 37.
Did you make it happen that way? Did you
Did you
walk
wait at the
really
finish
slow?
line?
You know what? We will get to the end, and I'll tell you how that came about. It wasn't planned. I didn't come into the race with that goal, but I'll tell you how it worked out.
Okay.
Okay. What was your goal time?
Anywhere between 35 and 40 hours.
Okay. So 37 and a half. We'll put that down.
Right in the middle there, yeah.
Yeah. What was the time limit for the race?
This particular race, I'll try not to say too much to give it away, but it started out, it used to have a 60-hour time limit. When I first started running this race, it was a 60-hour limit. Then it went to 48, and then it just changed to 45. So when I did it, it had a 48-hour time limit. Now it's a 45-hour.
Okay.
Is it because ultra runners are getting faster?
I think it's because the race director doesn't want to be out that long.
Fair enough.
That's actually fair. So what was your travel time to the race?
It's actually sort of in my backyard, so about 4 hours of drive time each way.
Okay, so 8 hours in total.
And I live in Southern California, so
Okay,
Nice
that's
warm weather.
yeah,
yeah.
that's not bad. That's not bad at all. What was the race fee?
You ready? You're sitting down, so it's a good thing. $1,595.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that should give you a good score because if with only 4 hours out and back, you probably didn't have that many travel costs.
Well, let me tell you about the cost. See, the race entry fee, that's just the tip of the iceberg with this
Oh
particular
my
race.
God.
Because again, I'm gonna try not to give too much away, but you have to rent a van, so and you're out there for, like, about a week, so that's
Okay.
$700 just for the van rental, and then you stay in hotel before and then after, and you have a crew, so, hotel costs, uh, we came up with $600, and that's actually on the cheap side. Many people will spend a lot more than that. So you start adding in, the car rental, the hotel, gas is probably about $200. There's another major component. I might save it till the end because if I save this one thing, it might right there give the race away. So there's another
Okay.
bit of an expense, but I'll hold off on that.
Okay. So we're going to say about what? $2,000?
Probably about 3,000. Now this race is
3,000.
notorious for most people spend between 5 and 10 grand on this race. My wife and I have figured out how to do it, sort of on the cheap, or at least as cheap as
Yeah.
possible. So if we're doing it for about 3 grand, and that's just people who do this race say, "How's that even possible? That's unbelievable that we could do it for that cheap for this particular race."
Wow.
Oh,
So
okay.
y'all are bargain hunters.
Yeah.
So what about nutrition? Did you buy any specific nutrition for the race specifically, or were there any aid stations you could just rely on?
So with this race, you are your aid station. So yeah,
Okay,
and so that's part of the expense as well. All the food that you buy, not just for the runner, but for the all your crew for the time you're out on the course.
okay.
Wow. So what would you
So,
say?
so you bought a lot.
Yeah. How much did you spend on that?
I think I'm gonna guess around $500 maybe. I'm
Okay,
guessing.
I
that's not
mean,
so bad.
I
That's
see
actually
what you
not
bring
bad.
to races because I mean, I've snooped and pooped in there, and I know that you and I went on a hunt to find someone to find us what was it, eggnog,
Eggnog, yeah.
because you didn't have any.
No.
So I know you bring a lot to races. I could just imagine something you say is a week long. That's a You did well with
Well,
$500.
we're there for a week. The race itself is only again the 48-hour time limit, but the
Yeah.
way that the race is set up, you have to check in the day before. The race doesn't start till the next day at night, and then
Okay.
after the race is over, there's a big celebration party, and then so you spend the night again, and you don't leave until the next day. So basically, you come in on a Sunday and you leave on a Thursday.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Those snacks, like, were they for your crew as well, or did they have a whole separate budget?
That's my whole race budget,
Okay.
including everything for the crew. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the race cost, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you have to feed your crew.
Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know.
Sorta. You know what?
Sorta.
If you don't feed them, they tend to get cranky. I
Yeah.
learned that
Exactly.
this is the ninth time I did this race. So the first couple times we didn't feed them, and yeah, that didn't work so well. So we decided probably
No.
we should feed them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so demanding.
They might barbecue you.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So, did you buy any shoes for the race, or did you just go with what you already had?
I went with what I had. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of what I do with my shoes. So I will wear a pair of shoes until they're basically falling off my feet. I don't recommend that. I am a running coach, and that's so I tell my coaching clients replace your shoes every 500 miles. But I typically get
Yeah.
about 2 to 3,000 miles out of a pair of shoes. So if you look at this particular race, the distance compared to what I get out of shoes, I didn't, get
No, that's
that much wear and tear. It
that's
wasn't a new
just
pair of shoes I bought for this race, no.
yeah, that's just a 0.
Yeah, I hear you because I don't wear new shoes to races. I just no.
She buys shoes that have 5 miles on them on eBay.
Yeah, I buy
She's
them off
very clever.
eBay.
Nice.
They're
That's the way to do it for
Yeah,
sure. Smart. That way you can put more of your dollars into entry fees, right?
Ex
exactly.
Yes,
Yep. Because they are going up.
they are
Yeah.
going up. And then what about essentials? Did you buy anything last minute, something you forgot to bring or
A watch, a camper, a dog.
Yeah, speaking of that, I there is a race that I actually showed up to, and guess what one essential piece of running gear I did not have with me?
What?
Running shoes. I
Oh,
I had a pair of my shoes, my slip-on shoes I wear for work, and it was when I finally got to the race, it was like 2 in the morning, and there's no choice, so I ran in those shoes, I knew, it was not gonna be pretty, I knew I was gonna get terrible blisters. Actually, I didn't get a single blister. I did get a little bit of shin splints,
yeah.
because they didn't have really hardly anything in the way of cushioning, but they actually worked out. So, yeah, I have had races where I forgot the things that even a rookie would never ever forget. But in this particular race, from my recollection, I don't think there was anything last minute that I had to buy that we had forgotten.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad. So 1/3 of your cost was your race fee, which is actually pretty high. We had a guest on where it was 4% of his cost,
Mm.
that was the race fee. So
Oh
so
wow.
So that's not so bad at all. And actually, your return on investment,
Oh,
0.621,
that's good.
that's good. That's in the high
Good.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, you had a high performance. That's good. So,
And was he aggressive?
oh, yeah.
Oh, your ambition was like a 9.
Yeah, 0.9
Wow.
between 0 and 1, and your aggressive was 0.7, and your performance was 0.47. That's good. 0.5 means you hit your goal time.
Okay.
So you're a little slower than what you expected. It's 37.5. So, but
Okay.
that's good.
All
Yeah.
right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have some fun with this race report. So you were given 11 questions and you were told to rate them 1 to 10. And so we're going to do that and you're going to tell us why. So we'll start with the aid station. So that would just be your own, I guess, aid station.
So the aid station was a 10 plus. I had everything I could possibly need because I bought it all myself.
That always helps.
What was your favorite thing at that aid station? Uh,
I would have to say because it was a roving aid station, my favorite thing would be my lovely bride because she's my crew chief, and this particular race, she rarely goes to races anymore. I burned her out years ago, but this race, she makes a point to go to it, and so that'd be my favorite thing about that race is I've got my wife right there with me, and but I just having a good variety of food and drinks, that's the great thing about, a car crude race is pretty much all your favorite foods are there because, you knew you were gonna be at some point wanting them. Of course, you end up not eating most of them anyway, but at least they're there.
no.
They're available.
Yeah. So I have one question about your aid station helper. Was she there as a volunteer, or was she as more like a hostage situation?
Uh, well, yeah. You know, can I plead the 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
No.
can.
No,
Yes.
she does like this race, it's got such a cool, like, a family reunion vibe to it, and, she actually likes being a part of this, so, she looks forward to it, but also, the particular time of the year and some events that happen, which I'll get to, kind of also make it, to where she wants to be at this race with me. It'll make sense when we finish.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll move along to the fun factor.
I'd say 10, but
10?
every race, I don't even races that I've DNF'd, and I've had plenty, more than my share of
Yeah.
DNFs, I try and make well, I'm the jester, so I
Yeah.
try it as much as possible, you know, even if it was miserable, I'm never gonna tell anybody, I'll just say, "Oh, yeah, it was great, I had lots of
Yeah.
fun," through the
Well,
tears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. And I do know that you always are out there trying to make sure everyone is having a good time. And I think that brings your cheer up as well.
it
I've noticed.
definitely
I've
does.
seen you when you're
Yeah.
down and
Yeah,
there's like one person you'll see that's down, you'll bring them up and all of a sudden you're smiling again and
yeah.
walking about a million miles an hour. Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
well, Lisa Marie, you've now just revealed my secret weapon that what actually helps me get to the race is the people around me. Because yeah,
Yeah.
left
Yeah.
to my own devices, I'm like anybody else, also having my own pity parties and, woe is me, and I think quite frankly, I think that's part of the secret weapon that you 2 have, is that you do these together, and,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you finished 100-mile race and you still are married at the end of it, that's like that right there is, you deserve a Nobel Peace Prize just for that, but that you've done dozens of them. But I think that you probably do help each other out, and my experience
Yeah.
has been,
We do.
even when I go with a friend, typically, we're gonna have our ups and downs, but they don't happen at the same time, luckily.
Right.
If they
Yeah.
did, we'd probably be in trouble, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't pushed him off a cliff yet.
Not yet.
No.
Yeah.
We've had one time that we had the down at the same time, and we just agreed that one of us gotta fake it.
You know what,
And
but
then
I
we
I
just
did I did notice I was doing a race with you guys, and, for some reason, Renee was on the inner part of that cliff, he wasn't on the outside, I don't
No.
know if that was, purposeful, but, yeah.
It's called survival instinct.
Yeah, exactly. Smart man, smart man.
yeah, I think you're talking about across the years, and he just all of a sudden went like, "Why am I going in a circle?"
Oh,
And
I hit a dark
and
spot.
and I was just like he says, "I don't just stay away," and I'm like, "Okay." I think I
I
was right. I
love it.
was with you at that moment. I think we were running around laughing about eggnog, maybe. I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. Something
Probably,
Probably.
yeah.
crazy.
So did this have trail markings? I'm assuming there was some kind.
Well, this is a road race, and this race has 3 turns. 3 turns, that's it.
Oh,
Uh, you know, I'm trying in my mind, I'm thinking a left, a right, and a left, and that's it through the whole race. So, yeah, you really you can't get if you got lost at this race, you had to be trying to get lost. You had to be going
right.
out of your way. Plus, you got crew there to keep you on course. So, yeah, trail markings, I gotta give it a 10 because, there wasn't any way only one way to go for the most part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm still going to ask you that question that I've been asking everybody is when you think about races with trail markings, where do you prefer them to be? Like at your up above, because you're pretty tall. So do you like to look up at them, hips, hip length, or on the ground?
For me, I actually prefer them low because I'm kinda looking, my head's down looking at the trail in front of me because if I don't, I'm gonna be falling on my face. So, and now what happens sometimes I'm 6'2", and then with my Jester hat, I'm like, almost 7 feet tall. So I'll clip many different branches because I didn't, see them coming. So for me, low and mini.
Many.
I've
Right.
never
Yeah.
ever been to a race where I would say, there were just too many course markings. I'm not that kind of a person like, oh, it spoils the beauty of nature. It's like, no, I want like breadcrumbs. Give me one every
Yeah.
10 feet. It's when there's
I'm with
too
you.
few markings. That's where it really, for me, becomes problematic.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Can never have too many trail markings.
Nope.
No.
So, how about the weather? Was you get to be the judge of Mother Nature? It doesn't matter how you rate her. This is all on you.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a number, and then we're just gonna move on. We can come back to this later. I'm
Okay.
gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
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 Okay. So, moving along.
Mhm.
Did you have any pacers?
I did.
Okay.
Oh,
I had,
okay.
3 pacers. So
Wow.
Okay.
at this particular race, you're allowed to have a crew of maximum of 4. You have to have at least 2. If you don't have at least 2, you get disqualified. I know a guy who tried to do it with just a single pacer. Not that he couldn't do it or a single crew person. It's possible you could definitely do it with 1 crew, but the race rules require 2, and he was a veteran runner of this race, and he got immediately DQ'd and sent home. So you can
Mm,
have 2 to 4. I always go the max with 4, and then my wife is my crew chief and my, head driver, so she's not out there pacing me on the course until the very, very end, and then all of our team all cross the finish line together. So, basically 3 pacers.
okay.
How would you rate them? I mean, whatever you say, it stays in between us. But if they want to dispute it, they're
Mhm.
welcome to come on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm really lucky in that I'm pretty good at picking my pacer crew because I never have pacers at other races I do. My pacers are other racers like yourselves. Those are my
Yeah.
pacers. So I don't have specific pacers. So in this particular race, I really make sure to get really good pacers that I know I'm gonna be happy with, and I'm looking more for attitude pretty much than anything else. I'm not looking for, "Oh, I want the fastest, best runner." No, there's sometimes actually
Yeah.
detrimental.
Mm.
I want the person with the right attitude because when I'm getting in a low state of mind, I want someone who's gonna be there to kinda cheer me up. Yeah, the Pacers were great. I've always had a good experience, but there's a rule because you spend so much time together and I'm out on the course, and there's only a certain point in the race where you can start having your first pacer. And even once they start joining me, it's only one at a time, so they're crammed in this van for, a day and a half. So, there's sometimes a lot of drama that goes on. Now, here's the good thing is a good crew chief knows the runner knows nothing about that. Now, on the drive home, because my crew chief is my wife, oh, for 4 hours on the way home, I hear about every single person, and my wife will be
Oh,
like,
no.
"They are not crewing for you again," you know? So I find out later, but during the race, everybody's perfect because I only see them when they come out to join me for just, a couple miles at a time.
Okay.
Wow. So, if anybody disputes that they shouldn't have that 10, you are more than welcome to come on and rebuke
That's right,
the
sure.
jester.
They can dish all the dirt on what's like, why they would say, "You know what? I'd never pay for the Jester ever again, even if you paid me $1,000,000, so
So, your crew overall, what would you give them?
I'd give 'em a 10. I give my patients a 10, my
Okay.
crew, I'd give them a 10 as well.
Well, I'm sure that your wife is probably standing there with a whip
Yeah,
going, "You
she's
She's
over
she's
my
better
gonna
say
shoulder.
that."
Yeah. Yeah, if I know it's good for me, I'll say, "Yeah, my crew chief was, she was, a 20." Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I could just see her over there reading a magazine, looking up behind it. "What do you say?"
Yeah, exactly.
S
I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening. Okay, so did you have any blisters or chafing or just things that we shouldn't talk about that we're going to talk about?
No,
Sunburn?
I'm usually pretty good. I rarely get blisters at this point, and, I once in a while, I'll get chafing, but no, at this race, no blisters, no chafing.
Okay. We'll leave that blank.
Yeah. How about gut issues? You have a
Yeah.
steel gut at this race?
Yeah, I do get at this race, it's not uncommon that I'll get gut issues and just, gotta make multiple potty stops and, can't, yeah, I don't ever have an issue with vomiting,
Right.
well, I I was proud to say I've done over 200 marathons and over 300 100-mile races. I'd always brag, "Oh, I've never ever vomited," and then I had a race I did, last summer, and, I was pushing to try and, finish hundreds in sub 24. It was a bit warm, and I wasn't taking in, hydration like I should have, and, I finished it at 23:59, and as soon as I got in and sat on the bench, I started, what little liquid I had in me, it started coming up. It's like, "Oh, so this is what
Oh,
that's all about. Okay."
ew. And you
But
had your
Yeah.
hat on when
but
that happened? Did anyone take a picture with the hat on with
I will
No,
say
puking?
no, no
No.
one no one
you
got
crossed the finish
any
line, so the
pic
race was
well,
over.
they did, but I quickly paid them off to where those won't be in the public domain.
But the race was over, so technically you didn't vomit during the race.
No, it's true, not until after it's
Yeah.
over, so that's a good point. Good point, so I still you're right, I can still claim, "I've never vomited." Thank you, Renee. I can still keep my claim, never vomited once in a race.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so lavatory facility. So I'm
I
taking that was on the side of the road, or was there any porta potties on the
I
way?
so back to gut issues, I'm gonna give that a 6 for as far as the
Oh,
score goes.
okay. Sorry about
Laboratory
that.
That's all right. Laboratory facilities, I'm giving it a 6. So, at this particular race,
Okay, she's a
there
6.
is, like, I think 5 places where there's an actual bathroom you can use, and, t 3 of them I think are like the outhouse type of bathroom. I think only 1 or 2 have actually real plumbing facilities, and then but you're required at this race to carry your own toilet, uh, facilities, basically, a bivy bag and whatever. So, I've got, like, a 5-gallon bucket with this, pop-on, like, toilet seat, and so that's, what we use. We're required to pack everything out. You could you can pee out there, but if you gotta go number 2, you're packing it
Yeah.
with you.
So your crew was with you when this happened. I mean, it was like, is there cover on? I'm just trying to think you having all this and then the side of the road. Since I'm not sure what it is yet.
Yeah, so you double, triple bag it up, and then as soon as you get to the next place where there's any kind of a garbage facility, you're getting rid of it. Now, one year, we had a van that had a rack on top, so we threw a bunch of that stuff on top of the rack, and of course, after I did my business, they put that in the bag, put it on top. And everybody forgot about it. By the time the race was over and they were getting stuff out of the top, everything was permeated from the sun baking down on that and cooking that, and
Oh,
you just pretty much had to throw anything up there away. I don't you weren't gonna get the
no.
the the odor out of that, so, ew, that was pretty bad.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Okay.
So, wow. All right. So, did you take any trail naps or did you have any falls?
Luckily, I did not have any falls. I am notorious for falling, and I can fall on the smallest little a leaf. But luckily, no falls in this one. I did, take a nap and, maybe more than because this is 2019, so I'm trying to recall. I will sometimes take a nap on this race, during the night, but because my crew's there, they'll set up a little a lawn chair, and I'll take, like, a 15-minute nap, and I'm up and ready to go. So, when I nap, it's usually really, really short.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would give that for as far as, points, I'd give that a 10 for trail naps and falls.
Okay.
So, did you have any animal sightings? Deer, elk, mule,
Other than
horses,
other
ants?
other than Homo sapiens, not this time. Other times at this race, I've seen coyote, scorpions,
Oh,
rattlesnakes. In fact, it's the only time I've seen a scorpion, out on a race was at this race on the road. But this particular year, the race that we're talking about specifically, Homo sapiens, that was the only animals I saw.
Okay, and
okay.
they are an animal,
But
so
oh, they can't.
so you get to judge them.
So none.
So,
We're
yeah,
gonna leave it blank.
let's say we're like animals.
Yeah.
So, how was your mental state?
I would say a 9. I'm pretty good. My mental state, I've kind of figured that game out, so, it's rare that, I'll have any, trouble. So, when my crew can tell when I'm actually going through a rough patch? Uh So you've been with me, I'm pretty talkative on the course, and that's what keeps
Mhm.
me
Yeah.
awake. So when I get quiet and won't talk or I'll just grunt, they'll come in when they're switching out for pacing, and my wife will say, "So how's that doing?" "Yeah, he's in a pretty, dark place right now." "How do you know?" "Wouldn't talk. Couldn't get him to say a word." Yeah, because I won't
Yeah,
say,
that's
"I'm feeling miserable." Yeah, I just, kinda clam up and don't say a word, so they kinda know, but I would say, my mental state was, I'd say a 9.
okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
How about hallucinations? Come on, give me some
Not at
hallucinations.
not at this
No,
race. You know, and
no.
I know, and I'm really jealous because I've only had a handful of times in all my races that I've actually had hallucinations. One's a humdinger, but the rest of them are pretty they're not any fun like you hear everybody else having, like, a bush comes alive and starts talking to them, and yeah,
Mm,
I haven't had any of
Yeah.
those fun ones, like you're on an LSD trip. I haven't had those. So this race, I had 0 hallucinations, so whatever
Okay.
score that would give me.
No,
that's
we
good.
just leave them blank.
Yeah, and what it means is that you rested too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could
So
be.
no more
Mhm.
sleep for you. Next time I'm at a race
I
with you, no
guess.
sleep for you.
That's it.
No sleep.
That's it. Gotta get
I
those
will
We'll
hallucinations.
get you that free
I will
LSD
babysit
trip.
you.
There you go.
I will help guide you to a hallucination.
Perfect.
So were you prepared for this, race?
I was pretty well prepared. This was my 9th time I had done this race, so I knew pretty much what to expect, so and again, we had a van full of everything that we needed. So yes, I would say my preparedness on this one and my training was really good. So I'd say a 10 on preparation.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the first time we've seen anyone give a 10 for that. Most people are like, "Oh, no, I thought I was, but no. I ran 5 miles a week for a month." So, whenever you got into this race, you were handed a manual, I hope, and, you read it. So how was the race versus the description? Because everyone lies.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
spot on, because this
Really?
particular race director is extremely detail oriented. So it's not a it's a race book basically that
Right.
I mean you download it, but yeah, it's like a book. So extremely detailed on the course, and again, 9th time. So I could pretty much have done the race blindfolded. So I would
Right.
give it definitely a 10. Even if it was
Right.
a first time runner, the race description is spot on.
Yeah. It's about after signing up and reading the race manual, did anything surprise you on the course? Is really what you're asking about. That, but
See,
so you,
I have a policy for added fun. I like to just go in blind, not read the manual, have no idea what's coming up, and be full of surprises. That's the fun part. I mean, reading the manual, come on, that takes the
I
fun
know.
away. You
Yeah.
gotta figure it out on the course.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen you do that. I think the race was called the
So,
Sticks.
so
Enough said.
you're not like me that go on Google Maps and zoom in, follow the route all the way around to see what's what it looks like.
I like surprises.
Well, that's why I bring my wife. I'm a rule breaker. My wife is the exact opposite. Never we're not gonna break any rules. So she knows all the rules, so I don't have to. I don't have to learn.
Okay, but that's a good way to share the load.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got there, I'm sure you got a bag full of swag. When you were done, you got a medal and a buckle, or just a medal or a buckle.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
So this is kind of it's kind of an inside joke, and if the race director hears this, I don't want him to be mad at me, but it is the truth. People will ask, "Man, that's a lot of money you spend on that race. What do you get?" And it's like, well, we get a race shirt when we get there. When we finish, we get a finisher's medal and a buckle, and the buckles are every year they're different, and the race is limited to 100 people, so it's a special edition buckle. So we do get a finisher's buckle, but the big thing is we get a big pizza party celebration at the very end. We don't aid stations. No, we're the aid station. So and that's pretty. There's no first, second, third place trophies. It's just. But again, that buckle is pretty darn special, and it's yeah,
Yeah.
we're happy to if we got nothing more than and also you do get a finisher shirt that says finisher on it, and that's
Okay.
that's also a collector's item. You're not going to get that shirt unless you earned it or you stole it. So
Have you ever sold one?
uh did you say stole or sold?
Oh, well, now you say stole, so now I'm curious. Have you ever stole one?
You know what? There are times that I may have been tempted to sell one just to, I need some more race money. Uh,
Oh, you got 9
how
of
much
them,
can I
right?
get for this? But no, no, never stole one and never sold one.
Ever sold one?
Yet, there's still
Yet.
time.
Okay. So, how would you rate? So, what would you give that
I'd give that a 10
a
because
10?
Yeah.
if we got nothing more than the finisher's buckle, it would be the finisher's buckle and the pizza party. All right, we can't that pizza party
You're
means a
really
lot
selling that pizza
to
party.
us.
Now
Yeah.
I want to go do this race for a
It's
pizza
pretty
party.
important to celebrate, that's our our final celebration with all the race family.
Okay. So your final score here on the experience was a 9.1 out of 10.
Dang.
That's really, really
I
high.
think this is
Is
gonna
that
put
good?
'em
That's
yes.
very good, yeah. And I would say this is probably a race you'll do again, but since you've done it 9 times, will you do it again?
I've done it 10. I did it 10
Mm,
times in a row, and,
okay.
I if the boss will let me, I'd like to do it 1, maybe 2 more times because it'd be cool to have, a dozen. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the funny thing about this race is you do it once, you're like, "Oh, wow, it'd be cool to have 2 finishes there," and then you get 2. Be cool to have 3, then 5, then 7, then 10. 10 was the big goal, and I had 10 in a row, but it's been a few years since the last time I did it, so it's like, "Oh, I'd like to go and do it another time," and then 11, then to get 12, then 12. 13 is a baker's dozen, so it's like, where does it end? But yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
I'd like to if I could it's kinda hard to get into this race, so there's never any guarantees, but yeah, if I could get into it again, I would definitely wanna do it again.
Sounds like you wanna ride the witch's broom on that one.
Yeah.
And your final UTI score, when we combine with your cost and your results, is 0.768. And now just gonna check where that
Because I
puts
think
you
he's number one.
because, yeah, put it way, way, way up there in the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are a new number one.
Did you just say, Lisa Marie, I'm number one?
Yeah, so
Yay!
far.
I'm number
So
one.
so
No, the first place.
that's impressive. I mean, you had a great result. You had a great experience. You had the whole race was top notch. So even though your race fee was only 30% of your total cost, it was still worth the money. It was still worth it. So
For
now we
sure.
need to guess what it is.
I have a feeling I know, and it was a little something that ticked
Uh,
it off to that.
well,
Uh-oh.
I I do think I know what it is because of the 3 turns.
I try
Okay,
not
the
to give
same time.
too much away because you can if you know the race, certain things I could have talked more in detail about, that would have given away right then and there. So I
Yeah,
tried to keep you guessing, but this race it's kinda hard with your questions to keep them ambiguous enough to where you can't guess. But, yeah, I'm
right.
curious to see if you got it.
Well, before I say what it is, it wasn't anything in the questions, it was something in the beginning because I have tried to enter this race, and
And I think
the time had changed,
and I think the race director with the race book, I think his first name is probably Chris.
and it's bad water.
It could be. That's it. And I was glad you didn't ask me the distance because that would have given it
Yeah,
135.
that
You'd be
would have
like,
given
"Oh,
it
well,
away, yeah.
yeah, now we already know what it is." So it's a good thing you didn't ask the distance. Yes, Badwater 135.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was the time change because I remember that, when I was looking at the history of it, that they were the time had changed, that they're making it shorter, and I'm like, "Runners must be getting faster." But according to you, that's not it. He just doesn't wanna stick around, Chris.
But like she said, we tried to get into it, and the first thing I did was to go on Google Maps and check the route. So I know there was only
Yeah, there
3
you go.
turns.
That pretty much gives it away. Yeah.
We called
Well,
the bank.
see, I gotta give, Chris, kudos because, he's not a young man anymore. He's I think he's now 60 or he's just, a few years younger than me, but, not a young man, and he's awake the whole time, and then the pizza party I told you about that happens
Yeah,
it happens at the end of the 48 hours, and he hosts it and announces everybody. So, this guy is like I mean, can you imagine? That's an ultra just by itself. So he
yeah,
and then if there's someone coming in at the very last minute and the race finishes up at the top of Whitney Portal Road, the pizza celebration is 13 miles down the hill in Lone Pine. He's got to scramble down there, and I think just it's just too much. So I think bringing it down to 45 hours makes it a little more reasonable,
yeah.
for him and for
I
the
mean,
crew. There's volunteers. There's a lot of volunteers in this race, so yeah. So I'm going to give
Yeah.
Chris a break on that. Plus, I want to do the race again, so I'm
yes,
not
yes,
gonna
of
I'm not
course.
gonna say anything
Well,
bad about
I
Chris.
will write a letter.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll tag him in the post, when we put it out, yeah.
If you're
Uh,
looking for a pacer.
There
so
you go. Yeah. Yeah,
so obviously
always am every time we do it, so yeah.
obviously my first question is gonna be that so you start in the Badwater Basin in Death Valley, and that's extremely hot. Do you
Yeah,
run do you run Badwater in your Jester costume?
Yes,
I
that was my question.
So, I every time I've done it, I've always had the Jester hat. When I first started doing it, I had colorful Jester shorts, with tights, and then I had a Jester skirt, if anybody knows kinda the evolution of the Jester, and then, a few years back, I switched over to running it in suits, so the very last year, not this year that we're talking about, 2019, and then 2020 was COVID year, so they didn't have it, but then 2021, so that was the last year I ran it. I was actually in a solid white suit. So I had a suit on, but it was, solid white. But if I
Okay,
do it again, I'll definitely have the colorful gesture suit on for sure.
okay.
And when I
That's in
crew, I've
itself
I've I've crewed twice for Carla, uh Kent, and when I did, I was, I mean, obviously with her permission, if she was okay with it, but she's like, "Yeah, Ed, you're the jester." So I actually did have the jester outfit on when I was crewing for her on the course.
Okay.
No, Katrin?
Nice.
Carla Kent.
Oh, Carla
Okay.
Kent. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So, yeah, because speaking of your outfit, I know that in the winter you have it made a certain way so you're warm. Because that's the first thing I always ask you. Aren't you cold? And then it gets
Yeah.
hot outside, and I'm like, you got to be dying. I ran with you when it was so hot and muggy outside. I mean, I was waiting for you to smell out there in Kansas. You didn't. I didn't know how you survived if you were.
Yeah. Well, actually, the reality is I don't have it's an off the shelf suit. I don't have it customized in any way. So it's light material. It looks hotter than it is. Plus, I'm used to it, so it's like
Okay.
every time I run a race in it, it's like I'm doing heat training. Now there are times if it's a really hot and especially hot and humid race that I might actually shed the jacket.
Mhm.
Uh, just because it's like okay, that's just getting crazy. But yeah, as much as possible, I'll have the jacket on. And if it's cold, I'll just put a puffy jacket on and put my Jester, jacket over the
Oh,
top
okay.
of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I always have the Jester jacket, and then I always have one of these shirts. Well, starting in 2021. Did you ever meet an ultra guy named Andy Noyes? Andy
No,
Noyes?
but I wish I had.
Yeah.
I've heard
A really,
wonderful
really special
things.
guy. So he actually was my best friend in the ultra community. We did a lot of races together. And ATY, he was a power walker. He didn't like going out during the day. He's a little bit bigger of a guy. So, but he loved going out at night, and so we would just power it out. He'd keep me up and on my feet, and I would, do typically very well at across the years. And Andrew was kind of my secret weapon. Well, he passed away in 2021, and I knew his wife, and so after a couple weeks, I got in touch with her and I said, I'd love to wear one of Andy's shirts just to honor Andy. And if you're comfortable with that. And she said, Ed, yeah, that would we'd love that. The boys and Andy had 3 adult sons. So she gave me actually one of each of his shirts. Now, he wore always the same pattern shirt. They're from REI and they're this pattern. And he had a
Okay.
green. So I got the green one on. He had a green, a blue, and a yellow. So I started wearing them, in May of 2021. I've now done over 100 mile races wearing an Andy shirt. So, yeah, Andy shirt, I always have that. And then another friend of mine, Bill Dickey, just passed away
Mhm.
last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, at his memorial service, they were giving out his race shirt saying, "Hey, we want all of his runner friends to take one because 'cause we're just gonna, give them the goodwill." And, so I saw one that was a race that we had done together, and I grabbed that. So now that's my undershirt is my race from Bill Dickey, and then, my main shirt is my Andy Noyes race, shirt. So anyway, that fills out the Jester, costume, if you will.
Okay. Okay. So you can lose a little bit if you get too hot.
Yes, I can. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to point out it's not here. This is the green screen, but 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 when I put this right here, I'm gonna make sure Renee puts up the picture of you and him running, and Renee was dressed up for this one. It was a dinosaur at
Yes, that's
Blue.
right.
And you 2 are I remember turning around and looking, and I see a jester and a dinosaur on the trails, and I'm like, it's not a pretty word what I said, but it was WTF.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
at Blue last time at Blue.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
was that the snow year?
No, that
No.
was the year before that we were all
Okay.
running, and you were in your jester outfit running in a blizzard, which was
Yeah, that's
fabulous.
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy. Yep.
Scott Beasley was guiding me around because I kept getting lost. I couldn't see anything in out of my dinosaur costume, so he had to make sure I didn't get lost in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is
So
there anything else you'd like us ice. How much did you spend on ice? Because I know that's the magic
Yeah, that was the
ingredient.
one component I didn't say, so you picked up on that. Yeah, because that would've
yeah.
given away probably
Yeah.
about $150 on ice, just ice
Now
alone.
Oh, and they're like 250
so
a bag.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's really see, ice and gas are really expensive out there in the desert. So
Yeah.
you try as much as possible, you gas up where it's cheaper gas and you get as much ice as you can get it's you're gonna go through it, it's gonna melt, you're gonna have to ice up. Yeah, it's like ice is like 3 times the price, when you're buying it,
Yeah.
and there's only, like, 3 places that you can actually re-ice. Furnace Creek, which is a mile 17, Stovepipe Well is a mile 42. Oh, 4 places. Uh, and then there's, Panamint Springs, which is at mile, like, 72, I think, and then, Lone Pine, which is mile 120. So yeah, there are some different places that you can actually ice up and then hope for the best. But the great thing about Badwater is it really is kind of like a family reunion, and it is limited to exactly 100. Uh, the Chris only has a permit for 100, so he can't let any more than 100. And he's not
Right.
trying to be exclusive. It's just that's the way it is.
Right.
So I love his optimism because it's a new buckle every year. He actually orders 100 buckles, knowing full well that he's never gonna give away 100 buckles, but he's like, Maybe if 1 year,
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
everybody will
and
finish."
probably
But
the
but,
one year he doesn't order 100 buckles is probably where everyone finishes.
yeah, so he's got a buckle waiting for everybody now, whether they earn it or not, that's to be determined by the end of the race, but yeah, so the one thing I wanted to tell you about was the time. I said I'll tell you why that time was significant. So,
Yeah.
and also why my wife cruised me at this time of year. So, our wedding anniversary is July 17, and my wife's birthday is July 20. If you know anything about Badwater, the date floats in July. It could be the
Mhm.
beginning, the middle, the end of July. It's based on a full moon, so every year it's going to be
Ah,
different. But it's very common that the race is in the middle of July. So for 10 years, my poor wife, her birthday and our wedding anniversary, she had to suffer being in a hot, smelly van with 4 stinky men. Now I have a policy. What happens in the van stays in the van. I don't know what my wife is doing with these 4 sweaty guys, but she always seems to be happy to do the race every year, and so, you know what? I don't wanna know. It's none of my business. Uh, but so this particular race started on July 15, and the race starts at night. It used to start in the morning. They had a staggered wave start because you want to be going through Death Valley in the hottest part of the day. That's the reason why it's mid-July. You want to
yeah.
have the experience. It's sort of bragging rights. Yeah, I went through Badwater, and the veterans will talk about what year they did it, and how hot it was based on the year. Now there's some veterans who did it when the temperature was over 130. The highest it was in all my 10 years was 128. So I don't have the
Wow.
the 130 bragging rights, but, so it
Oh,
used
so
to start in
only
the morning,
128. That's
and,
that's
you
hardly
know,
worth talking about.
and it does have the world record for the highest recorded temperature on Earth was out in,
Yeah.
the Badwater Basin at Furnace Creek, so it definitely it gets, it gets toasty, but you know what we always say about these hot races that are in the West, about the heat? It's what kind of heat?
It's a dry heat.
It's
It's a dry.
dry heat,
Yeah.
which, it actually does make a difference versus,
It
Oh,
does,
can you
yeah.
yes.
imagine 130 degrees in humid heat? But there are some years that like a storm will come through and it can get humid, out
Yeah.
there as well. So anyway, this particular race, it was 2019. It started on, I was in the middle wave, which is a 9:30 p.m. start on July 15. So one of the things about this race is unless you're one of the elite runners, you are going through 2 nights. You start at night, you're going to go through that night, and then unless you're finishing up the race in 24 hours, you're going to go into a second night and typically through it into the next day. So by the time it's on the day 2 and, we're getting closer to the finish, it's now July 17, and I'm making my way up the last 15 miles, and I noticed something about the time that looks, kind of interesting to me. So, each of my pacers will come out, and by that point, you're trying to keep your pacers to a minimum because 'cause they're worn out too, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've crewed that way 3 times. and I've ran it 10 times. It's easier in many ways to run it
Yeah.
because you don't have to think. Your crew does all the thinking. You
Yeah.
know, the 3 turns, they'll tell you where to turn, and they give you, put something in your face, "Here, eat this. Here, drink this." And you're just like, "Okay, okay, okay." They think for you. Whereas when you're a crew, you're gonna be on your feet, you're gonna be thinking for your runner. It's a lot of work. I like I said,
Yeah.
I'm much gonna be and even when I'm crewing for somebody, I'd rather be out on the road with them than having to be back doing mixing up the drinks, getting the food ready, doing all the it's just a lot of work, and sometimes it's chaotic when they're coming in. So, anyway, we're heading out from Lone Pine. We have 15 miles to go. I noticed, this time thing that's kind of interesting. My crew comes out one at a time, and I tell them this idea I have, and all of them are like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome." So, remember, my wife is not a pacer. She's the crew chief, but also the driver. So she never comes out with me. So we get to the right close to the finish line, and different people will do Belware differently. Some, they run it across the finish line, themselves because it's a solo race. Some go across it with the crew. I always have my crew because it's a team effort, and so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
hold hands, and the last maybe quarter mile will come in, and then, of course, for the cameras, we'll run across the finish line. But
Yeah.
at that point, we've been climbing, for 15 miles, up 5,000, feet of climbing. So we're not doing a whole lot of running. But anyway, so we get right up to the finish line, like this, like a few steps away. And my crew are on both sides of me. We're holding hands, and I stopped. And the crew are kind of like giggling, and my wife's like, Ed, what are you doing? That's finished. Come on." I'm like, "No, no, no. I want to take it all in for a moment." And my wife's just completely baffled. And then finally, at the finish line, they start doing a countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, and we move up in 3, 2, and they say 1, we cross the finish line. Well, that made it 37 hours, 37 minutes, and 37 seconds. And
Wow.
this was our 37th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Oh,
So,
that's
That's
so
yeah, so that was
beautiful.
sweet.
kinda
Why don't you do things like that for me?
Because we
yeah.
haven't been married for
Hey,
37 years yet.
I didn't do that the first few years. Remember, this is 37 years for me to think about this kind of a thing, so give them some time, all right? Yeah.
we, we can
Alright.
we can do a marathon next year in 9 hours and 9 minutes and 9 seconds.
No, I don't want to do a marathon.
You could do 50K if you find the right 50K,
50K in
Yeah,
9 hours. Yeah, we
50K.
can do
9
that.
hours.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah.
And if you're really ambitious and push it hard on a flat, you can maybe do a 50 miler in 9 hours on a good day, maybe. If it's flat and everything
Yeah.
works out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my ninth in a row at Badwater, and
That
that
was
just
so
has some
sweet.
yeah, it has some special meaning. So
Did she
yeah.
cry? And
What's
we're
that?
talking about your wife now. Did she cry?
Did she cry?
Yeah.
I think there were a few Ettinghausen tears. I won't say who it was shedding them, but there was an
Oh, was
It
Ettinghausen
it
that was
stays in
you?
the family. It stays
and
in
Was
then
the
it
you have to
you?
family.
understand that, uh, when I do my race, 7 out of 10 of them, my middle daughter I have 4 kids, are all adult, but I have 3 daughters. My middle daughter, has crewed 7 out of the 10 times. So there were 3 Ettinghausens crossing the finish line out of 5 people. So, yeah, there were some Ettinghausen tears.
Oh, oh, that's so
That's
sweet.
lovely. Yeah.
Wow.
This is
I Hey,
Okay.
Lisa Marie, give him a break. I planted the seed. Now let it come to fruition. He'll surprise you, but
Okay.
you'll see. You'll see.
Okay. I'm
but
gonna hold you to that.
now I'm gonna feel like a copycat.
He's gonna see you
Yeah,
at
you're more
across the
than
years
welcome
and
to. I won't be offended at all.
Okay.
What do they say? The greatest form of flattery is imitation. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
That's true. That's true.
um, so I wanted to go back to something because you said that there's 4 stops. Are you allowed to utilize those or the gas stations? Are you allowed
Yes.
to utilize them and go, "Hey, I
Oh yeah.
want the Snickers," or
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
you can restock as much as you want. Yeah, there's no limitation there. And those are also places where they're actually are running, toilets. So definitely
Yeah.
it's like remember when you were a kid and you're going on a trip and Dad would say, "Hey, did you go to the bathroom?" "No." "Go to the bathroom right now. We're not
Yeah.
going to go to." And then, of course, as soon as you go in, you suddenly have to go. Well, if you're coming up to one of those places, even if you don't think you have to go, you're going to go in and try to go just because
Yeah.
the next place is going to be a nasty, stinky, gross,
Yep.
or it's gonna
Yeah.
be your own little 5-gallon bucket with a Biffy bag that you're trying to, to poop in. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, are they stocking these stores up with all this extra ice?
Yes, they do
Okay.
make a point of bringing in extra loads of ice specifically for this race because they know they're gonna go through just I mean, literally tons of
Yeah.
ice. Because
Okay.
imagine you have 100 vehicles coming through, and each
Mhm.
vehicle is taking care of 5 people. So
Yeah.
imagine all the ice, and you can stock up on I mean, we stock up on all of our drinks and everything because we get them at Walmart, where it's cheap. We don't buy them
Yeah.
there, but you can't really stock up on ice. It's just gonna melt.
No.
So you have to stock up at some point. So yeah, they definitely, they bring in truckloads of it.
How much ice did you go through?
I don't it'd be interesting to find out how many, bags and bags and bags of 10-pound bags of ice. Probably, oh, man, I've gotta say maybe 20 bags, and then sometimes the bags, they don't even have 10-pound bags, they've got, like, 5-pound or 7-pound bags, but yeah, every time you stock in, you load up with more ice than you think you'll need because sure enough, if you don't, you'll get yourself in trouble, and then the other thing is, again, it's kind of a if anyone out on the course is getting into some trouble, like they're running out of ice, any of the other vehicles will more than happy to supply them, and that's cool. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can help each other out. There's no restriction on that. So yeah, you want to have plenty of ice that you have for yourself and for your crew, and then if someone gets into trouble, you've got some spare that you can pass on.
So, did you use it on your person or did you
Oh,
soak your
oh,
feet in
constantly.
it?
So I'll have 2 or 3 Jester hats, and we have a little extra, kind of a pocket in it. So every time I come in, I'm taking the hat off, getting a new one with fresh with ice, and then a mile later, it's fully melted, and then yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm going through a
Right.
ton of ice just in the hat alone. So one of the things that you do when you're doing ice, you have a dirty ice and a clean ice. The dirty ice is for using on your body, hats, or whatever. The
Yeah.
clean ice is for your water bottles, you don't
Yeah.
wanna mix them because you got your hands with who knows what, and you're all kinds of germs and stuff. I mean, it's a ultra, so your germs,
Yeah.
it's not really an issue, but as much as possible, you try to avoid that because
Yeah.
last thing you need is, again, some stomach issue because you weren't,
Right.
watching your cleanliness.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
that, if you like took out the little stuffing in your jester hat, put some water in there somehow, froze it,
Yeah,
and it managed to keep it frozen in something. I mean, you could do it, get some dry ice and put
that's
it in there
true.
and then
That's a
yeah,
Yeah.
good point. If each of these were actually frozen ice, of course, that'd be
yeah,
pretty heavy, but yeah, as it melts and that's, of course, the benefit is when you're in super hot climate, the cooling effect of that evaporation,
Yeah.
so as water's on you, whereas, humid, it's like, forget it.
It
But in
doesn't.
right,
that
Yeah.
super hot, dry environment, all the water that's on you, it's gonna, dry and give that evaporative effect, cooling effect like a, evaporation cooler. So, yeah, it definitely
right.
yeah, you definitely and you're getting your crew as part of their job, they're redoing your ice, they're squirting you down with water, and see, a thing that's unique about Badwater in the pacing so you can have your first pacer starting at mile 42. If you're over, maybe over 60, you can just have your first pacer starting earlier, and then if you're, like, over, I think, maybe 65, you can have your first pacer, I think, almost from the very beginning, but, 42 from mile 42 on, you have a pacer going out with you. And for me, I don't need a pacer, for, pacing. I need a pacer just for camaraderie and someone to talk to and keep me company.
Yeah.
And then at Badwater, they're not actually allowed to be a pacer. They're required to be behind you. Every other
Mhm.
race, a pacer can be in front of you, actually setting the pace. Badwater, they're not allowed to do that. They have to be behind you, and it's single file you can't run side by side. That's one of the rules. You know, if you kind of I mean, there's rules that if you break certain rules, you're out. That's it. Like the
Yeah.
guy
Right.
who tried to do it with one crew, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Um, certain rules, that, especially if it's something a safety type of issue. There's other rules that are infractions that you're going to get scolded. And if you do some a big enough infraction, they'll put a red line across your bib, which means, you're in some
Just a
trouble.
scarlet
And,
letter.
yeah, if you get 2, if you get a second one, that's it, you're out. So and they have this also, if you get in certain trouble, you get put in, like, the penalty box. It's like there's a last, kind of a check station that you just, go through and they, check to see that you're coming through at mile 131. And if you got a penalty, you sit for an hour there it's very rare that someone gets that hour, penalty, but it can happen. And your crew, it's not just the runner. If any of your crew break a rule, that's on the runner. It's
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
responsibility
yeah.
as a runner. So the first time I ran Bauer, I was just, scared to death because Chris is really intense about these rules, and he puts the fear of God in you that, if you break one rule, and so I'm telling my crew, don't do anything wrong. And I'm a rule breaker, except the bad ones. It's like, I'm not breaking any rule. And so I've been really, really good about that. And then one year, and so one of the rules is you pull the vehicle over, uh, on the far right, if there is a white line in the shoulder, many times there's not, but all the way off the shoulder, and then you put your flashers on, and then when you get back on the road, you go to full speed. You can't drive up next to your, hey, what do you want next aid station? That's a no-no.
Okay.
Uh, and you're full speed with lights on. Pull over, lights off, flashers on. Okay, so it's a routine. Well, my wife was just heading, and this was a year that it was the odd year where it didn't even start at Bower Basin. And if you want, I can tell you more details on that. But anyway, it was a different course, and my wife was just pulling out and had said something to me. Well, guess who was behind her in the vehicle?
Oh, it's
Chris.
Chris.
And he pulled right up, and I'm out there, and he's, like, wagging his finger at me, and it's like, "Oh, no. Oh, no. Please, Chris, don't pull me with the," but he knew. He's like, "Hey, you know better." And that was the thing, especially if you're a
Yeah.
veteran, you know better. You shouldn't be, breaking those kind of rules. So, he didn't make too big of a deal about it, but trust me, it's like when dad gives you that look, it's almost I'd rather be spanked than given that look by dad, and that's like when Chris gives you that look, you're like, "Oh, man, I screwed up." Yeah.
I do have another question. I know we're going back to that ice thing again. Well, 2 things. Oh, the pacer running behind you, is it kinda like Salt is it Salt and Sea's the other one that they have? So you each have to be so far from each other, like if
Oh,
one
No,
yeah,
so
pukes,
Sultan,
Salt and Sea,
you
you're actually running as a team,
yeah,
together. You're doing it together, and you have to stay together. So it's a team of 2 or a team of 3. It also is a car crewed event, but, the car crew, they're not doing any pacing. They're only, crewing you as you come
yeah.
up to the car. Another thing about Boutwater that's unique, not only are they required to stay behind you, but Boutwater allows your crew to mule, which means they can carry your water bottle
Wow.
for you, whereas other races, they can't do that.
No.
They just can't do
So
that, yeah.
now, poor people that get stuck with crewing for me, I take full advantage of that. It's like, yeah, thanks, carry my water bottle. Uh, and some other, runners might, nah, I'm not gonna make my crew do that, but I'm kind of lazy that way. But it's pretty cool because you're just moving along, whether you're walking or running. You just put your hand back, and magically there's a bottle that shows up in your hand. You drink, and you put your hand back, magically, it just disappears, and it's just like, it's the most amazing thing in the
Oh
world.
my goodness. I
Yeah.
like
That
that.
sounds like a five-star
Yeah.
race.
See, the
Yeah.
thing about Badwater is it actually it spoils you in a way. I mean, it has a reputation for being one of the toughest foot races on the planet, and, we could talk about that, but definitely it spoils me because I have I've only had pacers, planned pacers at Boutwater, and then the one time I did Western States, I had a pacer, and both of those races, my pacer at Western States is like, I can never ever do this race again because my pacer was so good and set the bar so high. No one's ever going to be able to match what this guy did. It's just amazing. And then, you have these crew that are pacing and they're coming in and out, and you're getting, it's not like you're stuck with one for 50 miles. not that you'd be stuck with a patient, but they're switching out. So you're getting a new person coming out and chatting, and it's just it's a really cool experience. But it does tend to spoil because then after that you go back to a regular 100-mile race. Like, wait a minute, I have to get my own stuff. Uh, I don't have. There's no one to carry it for me. What? Yeah, it kind of spoils
Wow.
you.
Well, let me get to my last question to you is, so when we hear about these bad water, I'm from the dry climate, so I'm from the desert Southwest. I understand completely about dry heat. When you drink water, it comes off, and whereas you might live somewhere humid, you're going to go TT a lot. But when you're in the desert, you don't because it's just coming off your skin. So, how much water? How did you get through that? Did you have to get sprayed a lot? Did you have to drink extra water? Um, how did that work for you?
Yeah, well, for me, mostly it's the icing they have. That's the big deal that really
Yeah.
helps me get through it, is constantly ice on the hat, and it's melting continuously, so you're replacing it. Uh, I don't do so much on the spray down with water. I do use like a chill towel soaked in ice water. I'll wrap that around my neck so that that's the water's kind of going down your back, and then the hat. But yeah, you're constantly you're basically nursing a bottle constantly, all sipping, 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 always getting something, and not only because you need it for hydration, but your mouth will just dry out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so quickly. The air there is so hot and dry, and your
Mhm.
mouth breathing, and it's like. And the thing about people who come from a humid environment out to the Southwest, they just are not used to the dry
Mm.
heat. They'll get nosebleeds and they'll just get, their lips will, crack. And yeah, so I'm used to it. So it doesn't bother me, so much. But yeah, you're always, and that's the job of the crew, is to really, be aware and keep track of their runner. How much hydration are they getting? And, you know, they take a bottle out and then you're sipping out of that, and then they take it in when they switch, and they know, okay, you only went through like a third of that. You're not getting enough hydration, and they'll start pushing you for hydration, and that's why you want to have a variety of you'll get sick of one thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have a variety of your electrolytes. I bring like Sprite, Dr. Pepper, root beer, um, a raspberry iced tea, all kinds of different drinks and flavors, just so there is a variety. Just yeah, because you got to keep pushing that fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you I know that you do protein shakes. I'm sure you did not pick up a protein shake or chocolate milk at this one.
You know what? In the heat, it's really
Yeah.
hard to. You
Mhm.
just don't want to eat, but you need to get some calories in you. I remember, uh, one. This is like my third. Yeah, it was my third Badwater, and I was just my stomach was just done, and I was able to drink, but just food, just the thought of it. It made me
Yeah.
feel nauseous. Again, I've never vomited in a race,
In a
but,
race.
I felt like it, so I just could not eat, and my buddy out there, Nathan, was out there, and he's trying to get me to eat. He knew I needed to get some calories into me, and I just nah, and so finally, he did a guilt trip on me. He said, "Ed," he tried to get me to those little cliff blocks, you know?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to
Mm.
get me even to take even a little, taste of one. It's like, "Oh, no." And he's like, "Ed, can you just do it for me?" Now, what you have to realize is everybody on your crew has given a week of their life up, and in the United States, if we get 2 weeks of vacation a year,
Yep.
we're good, and so they're giving up, unlike Europeans who get, yeah, weeks and weeks and weeks, Yeah, exactly. But so they're giving up their 1 week or one of their 2 weeks to come out and be there with you. How do you
Mhm.
not, even if that's one of the reasons why I think Badwater has a pretty high finish rate. There's multiple reasons. One is Chris is very selective on who does the race, and and I'm like the unofficial Badwater ambassador. I have probably gotten 15 or 20 people to do Badwater just because they were interested in it, but didn't think they would get in. And I was like, why? Why don't you get in? Oh, well, I'm not that fast. I've never won a race. That's okay. You don't have to. He's not looking for the fastest. He's looking for an
Yeah.
opportunity to give people a chance to experience power. And Badwater is weighted heavy for the rookies. There's like 10 spots that are, for race directors decision, but out of the 90 of them, like 60 of them are for rookies and 30 are for veterans. So a veteran being able to do it over and over, that is getting more and more difficult because the pool is getting larger and larger and larger.
Yeah.
So, there was a point I was gonna make. I don't know what the point I was getting to. It'll come to me. Uh,
So
anyway,
I have
so yeah,
so your
great race
crew.
for so many reasons.
So your crew. Is there any rules how far they can go ahead of you, or can they go 1 mile and wait, and go
They can
another
go
mile and wait?
a mile, they can go 3, 4, 5 miles.
Okay.
I have sometimes going up Whitney Portal Road, we'll actually just every half mile. They'll just go a half
Yeah.
mile because you're going up and you're going slower, and plus your crew are worn out.
Yeah.
They've been even though they're in the van, they're taking turns and they're trying to get some sleep. You're not sleeping. So one of the things you learn when you do Badwater is you don't use your AC. The crew doesn't because it's too much of a shock. If you have your AC on in the vehicle and then you open the door, and you've got it
Yeah.
at 65 degrees, you open the door, it's 125. It shocks the body. So you just, the veterans, you just roll the windows down and you get used to the heat, after a while. So
Yeah,
it's
you
just what it is.
do.
But again, they're not getting hardly any sleep. If they can try maybe get a little bit of a cat nap, so they're completely worn out and exhausted. So by the time you get near the end, you want to give them a break because you got to watch your crew because they won't if they're not watching themselves. They'll if they're not used to, especially in the heat, they'll burn themselves out. And if you have a crew member that goes out too hard or too long with you, and then they haven't taken care of themselves, now they're basically sick. They're dead weight. They're no longer viable. Now you just lost a crew member until they get better. So you got to take
Yeah.
care of everybody, and that's the crew chief's job is to make sure that everybody's safe and doing what they need to do, and including all of the crew and pacers as well as the runner.
So she
Right.
was the mama to everybody. So, I guess that night, how cold did it get? Just to be on the opposite spectrum. You said 128 in the day. What was it at night?
Yeah, so the temperature can vary. So I had, I think it was the year before the one that we highlighted. It was 2018, I believe. We had a hailstorm and flash flooding going up Whitney Portal, and it was actually pelting us with hail, and the temperature was like in the 30s maybe. It was just very
Oof.
unusual. That just doesn't happen. There's a couple times where I've had some sprinkling later on in the race at the beginning. So that they've changed the race to a night start because there was a new uh, Death Valley National Park director that came in and just had some problem with Bellwether and just banned Bellwether altogether. And so that
Wow.
was the odd year. That was 2014 where the race was still held, but it was based out of Lone Pine and did some different configuration. So we never actually even got to the Bellwether Basin. But
Oh.
then when they came back in 2015, one of the rules were that they had to do a night start. So, but even at night, it's it's 110 degrees,
Yeah.
115 degrees, and so you're going through the night. 100 to 115 or so. And then the day, of course, can get hotter. And then when you get further into the race, there can be some, maybe down into the 80s, even possibly sometimes 70s. So you've got to, make sure you've got some other clothes with you in case it starts to get a little bit cool. Or again, rain might come in or a little bit of a
Yeah.
cold front. So you got to be prepared for both ends. Obviously, you're prepared for running in the heat, but other things can happen in the desert quickly.
Yeah.
Things can happen.
Yes, yeah.
Where the bodies are buried.
Mhm.
Okay, so before we say thank you and goodbye, on a scale from 1 to 10, would you recommend this race?
Yeah, you would.
Oh, as I said, I so I I've now done 307 100-mile races. And people ask me, "What's your favorite race?" It depends on various factors. Like I love the loopy fixed time events. That's my thing. But
Yeah.
as far as a point to point, hands down, is Badwater. It's just for
Okay.
so many reasons, and it's a race that's good for me because I'm a good road runner. I like a hard road surface. I'm not a trail guy. I know there's some trail people like, the more trip hazards, the better. The more technical, the better, and the more climb, the more vert, the better. It's like, nope. I like flat. I like smooth, a hard surface. Although Ballard does have 3 different climbs, so you end up with about 13,000 total feet of climb.
Yeah,
So it's not,
because
even though it starts out, at 282 feet below sea level, the lowest part in the Western Hemisphere, there are, undulations and some climbs. Um, but I just, this is my favorite point to point race. And as I started to say earlier, I've convinced so many people that the Bauer is like, "Oh, it's my dream race, but I'll never be able to run it." And then once they start to, it's like, "Oh, good thing we've got some hours together," because, by the time they've had their fill of Jester talk, they're, like, thinking, "Hey, maybe I can apply." And sometimes people will apply and they don't get in the first time. It's like, then apply again and run
yeah,
more hundreds. The great thing about Badwater is it's not a lottery. It's there's eno it Filling out the application for Bauer, it's an application. It's like a
Yes.
yeah,
job application. I mean, it's just like a whole resume you're doing. And if you try to minimalize it, which I did one year and I didn't get in because I like, Chris knows me. I mean, I'm the jester. I mean, come on. And I just kind of like phoned it in, and it's like, nope.
nope.
I mean, I don't know. He doesn't say why, but I'm suspicious that it might be that, I kind of, didn't, take it as seriously as I should have. But the point is, if you don't get in, apply again and just run more hundreds,
Yeah,
and keep running more hundreds, and then, also do the other Bower family races like Salton Sea and Cape
Mhm.
Fear, and there's another one, I think, a Cape Fear Marathon that he now has, and then he's got the VR 267,
Done
which
that
is
one,
yes.
in
yeah.
January. So that's, I mean, it's a panel of 5 people, but Chris is the one that makes the ultimate decision, and so, if you wanna run his race, go out and crew at his races, do his races, and Salton Sea is the only race that can be one of your qualifiers because you have to have at least 4 100-mile races, except Salton Sea. It's 81 miles, but that can act as a qualifier. So, yeah,
Okay.
go go do his races, go crew for sure. Before I ran that water, I actually was on somebody's crew, and then the next 10 years, I actually ran it. But you learn so much from crewing, and you learn one of the biggest things you learn is how hard it is. So now
Yeah.
you have a respect for your crew because you know what they're going through and how much it takes, how much sacrifice they're putting forth for you to. Oh, that's what I was starting to talk about earlier. One of the reasons why the success rate in Bauer is so high is because Chris is selected, but also imagine you've got 4 people that have given up a week of their life. You've
Mhm.
spent a crap ton of money to do this race. So even if you feel like, I kind of think I don't want to keep going, it's like you got 4 people telling you you're going to
Yeah.
finish this race.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're crawling across the finish line, man. I came here for you. You're going to finish this race. So the finish rate of Boutwater is typically in the 80 percentile, somewhere around there.
That's
Which
pretty
is pretty
good.
good for a race as
Yeah.
Yeah.
difficult as it is. And so I'll tell people, they'll say, "Yeah, is it really as hard as everybody says it is?" Like, well, let me tell you, I'm 10 for 10. I've ran Bauer 10 times in consecutive times. There was one year that didn't run because of COVID, but 10 consecutive times that Bauer ran, I ran it and finished all 10 years. There's a race that I've attempted. It's called Mogollon Monster. It's in Arizona. I'm 0
Mhm.
for 4. I've tried that race 4 different times. I've timed out, and I might even go back again this September and give it another shot. And who knows, I might be 0 for 5. But, it's just it's and so for me, obviously, Mogollon Monster is a more difficult race than Badwater, and so I'll say, it's hot, there's no getting around that. It's a hard surface. If you're not used to panning on hard pavement, you'll pay a price. People who
Yeah.
only train on the trail, boy, they just get chewed up at Badwater because the heat coming off of it, it truly is hot enough to fry an egg. Now, in
Yeah.
the park, you're not supposed to do that because then you're littering with these fried eggs all over the road. They don't want that. But you really it is truly hot enough to fry an egg, and the heat that's coming off of that road service, it can really give you some burns on your legs. So, but I'll say, yeah, it's hot, but it's really not necessarily that hard of a race. And then I'm in Badwater. And for me, the toughest part of Badwater is the second climb. There's 3 climbs. There's a climb that goes from Panamint Springs at mile 72 and then climbs up and you go up to Father Crowley. It's like a mile, 90. That segment there is always my most difficult for whatever reason, and I just have the biggest mental struggle there. And it's like at that point, I'm going, "This is a really hard race." What
All
was
10
I
times,
thinking?
huh?
This is a hard race, but I get
Is
that
that
little reminder. But I have that
is
runner's amnesia, so I forget about, how difficult
Yeah.
it is. I only remember the fun, the good parts of it. So anyway, so any of your listeners, if you've considered doing Badwater, if you can, if it's at all possible for you to get on a crew, go get on a crew, do some of the other races, and then apply for Badwater. And then if you don't get in, apply again. And I know
Yeah.
people who have applied multiple times, and then finally they get in.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, we've known people that told me it's gonna take 5 times. I won.
That's
yeah.
that's a good attitude. That's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
attitude.
That's
Thinking
I
that,
mean,
I'll get it on my 5th time. That way, if you get in
Oh,
before that, you're like, "Hey, I got lucky." Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a
I can
that's a good
brag.
idea, actually.
But
I like that.
it also shows you're really determined to do this race, right?
Well, and I think that's the thing. Chris wants to see that it's not just somebody that saw about David Goggins and Bauer. It's like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna do
Yeah.
Bauer." It's like, no, you need to have done at least 400s, and you've needed to have been in the ultra community for at least a couple of years,
Yeah.
and if you really wanna show that you wanna be part of the Bauer family, go out and cruise. So it's like he wants those people that's like, "Oh my god, if I could just do Bauer, I could die a happy person." He wants that person in the race, even if they're gonna take all 48, well, now 45, if they're gonna take all 45 hours to get it done, that's okay. You have 45 hours. And
Yeah.
if you DNF, many of the champions of Badwater have DNF'd, so it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a badge of honor. I luckily
Mhm.
have not gotten that badge of honor. Hope I never do, but if I do,
Yeah.
I do. But yeah, so it's just a great race, all around for so many reasons.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this so long, and I'm glad we overcome the technical
Yes.
difficulties.
I was so sad earlier. I was like, "No."
Um, but yeah, it's been great, and I can't wait to get you on again for a special edition later in the year.
Anytime.